name's Cleo Lavara and I've been undertaking my Bachelor of Secondary Education at La Trobe University, Bendigo. I've undertaken 2 placements at Crusoe College, my consolidating placement with Chantal and my graduating placement with Geo. The university notified us of our placements and then I had the ability to contact Geo when I was ready to organise a pre-placement meeting. The school notified us of Geo being our placement coordinator and then we were able to organise a time where all of us pre-service teachers could come in, meet Geo. We were given a welcome pack that had really valuable information about the school and then he took us around the school for a tour before dropping us off to meet our mentors individually. The information in the welcome pack was really good because it gave me insight into the dynamic of the school, some of the policies. It had information like a map and staff photos, but I think the most valuable information was what Chantal was able to provide me about the classes that I'd be teaching. She gave me access to information about the students' personalities before I'd met them. She gave me a bit of a rundown about how they've been since the return to remote learning, so I think being able to meet Chantal before just moving into the classroom was really valuable. One of the best things was actually knowing a little bit about the school and not having to learn it on the fly. So for me, it took away some of the anxiety around needing to find the location of my classrooms. It took away any nerves about, well, okay, who are the staff near me? I could look that up if I wanted to. I think that having such a good rundown of the school just really took away some of my initial nerves in being at a new school. I think that the way that Geo and the school have approached this induction should be standard. It really was super effective in bringing us into the school and giving us the best chance to settle and have success with our teaching rounds. One challenge that I think anyone in education needs to acknowledge is remote learning. The students had just come back from a big bout of remote learning. I think it was the big one in 2020 and then I came into the placement. And so they were quite unsettled and having access to Chantal before I moved in to teach them was really helpful because we were able to plan for that, that unease that the students were bringing to the classroom. So we started planning activities around building a relationship with me. Because I was a new staff person, I added to, the nature in the classroom. Being at Crusoe, the Crusoe model lesson was actually based on a lot of educational theory anyway. So one of the big theorists involved in that was John Hattie and his theory of visible learning. So I noticed that what Chantal was doing when we were team teaching was having visible learning intentions so the students knew their learning goals and then having success criteria that allowed us and the students to really measure what they were doing with their learning in each lesson. So that's just a really clear one that has been present in the school while I've been there as a placement student and now that I've returned as a tutor. So I think that's one really strong example. It was really clear to Chantal when I had come into the school that I had some nerves, and I think that's pretty standard as a pre-service teacher, but she really helped me just learn more about myself as a teacher. She gave me access to what other people were doing. She helped me with my planning. At the end of all of my lessons, we would sit down and reflect. I think that having a really open line of communication with Chantal about what I wanted to improve and what I did well helped my confidence, and in turn it helped us collaborate and team teach when we wanted to. Chantal helped me build relationships with other teachers in the school as well, encouraged me to do my observations. I had some opportunities to team teach with staff who weren't actually my mentors. So yeah, I think that having an open relationship from the start was really valuable. It's been a long and exciting journey, and I think I've had a million moments at home where I've had an email or a phone call and I've been really excited about, this is the next stage of my involvement with Crusoe. So at the end of my placement, Chantal and Geo notified me of the opportunity to hand in a resume and do a little bit of integration aid work with the Switch program and with PSD students. I did one shift and then I had the opportunity to apply for the Tutor Learning Initiative. So I've been here on a part-time basis for the duration of 2021 and I've just accepted a position to move into an English classroom teaching role next year. So it's been a long and exciting journey for me here. owe a lot of my developing teacher identity to Crusoe. I think when I came in on my first day of placement, I had done 2 rounds, but I was very supported, and while I was supported at Crusoe, I really was able to become more independent and really come into my own and learn about what I value as a teacher, what I want to provide for students. So I've really had a lot of room to grow here, and I think that when the college continued to employ me in different roles, it's just built my confidence as well. So yeah, I think that having this relationship with the college has been the most valuable thing for my career.
Well, my name's Chantel McMillan. I have been part of the La Trobe TAP program since its beginning, and I was the mentor teacher for Cleo Lavara. I think the induction program has been really successful as initiated by Crusoe. I think we do our best to make sure that the student teachers come in feeling welcomed, but also prepared for what lies ahead for them. The induction program begins with Angelo Giafrelli, who contacts all the student teachers and organises them to come into the school. He gives them a welcome pack, which includes information about our school, a map, but he sits down with everybody as a group to make them feel comfortable that they know each other, but they also get to know the school a little bit better. He then takes them out on a tour of the school and introduces each student to their mentor teacher, which I think is highly effective because it can be really difficult from a student teacher's perspective to cold call somebody and introduce themselves and find a way to meet that person. So it just makes it a little bit more personable, and the fact that you know that person before having to ring them and come into the school. So this induction program has actually been initiated by all the Bendigo schools in the region and has been highly successful in supporting the student teachers, but also the mentor teachers so that they know what to expect. Another really important thing about the induction process is obviously the next step by the mentor teacher themselves, meeting with that individual student teacher and going through what to expect, what classes they will be teaching, and doing a little bit of planning and preparation, which really helps build the confidence of the student teacher before they start their program. I think in our instance, so Cleo and I worked really well together. It was an easy rapport that we had from day one. We were able to sit down, we were able to look at the class photos and talk about each student who were probably experiencing one of the hardest years of their schooling life, just coming back from the remote learning of 2020. So Cleo took over a Year 7 class in English who were probably pretty rattled by the whole remote learning program, feeling a little bit anxious, and we were a little bit worried about how they might cope with a new person on top of that. So a new face, a new person to get used to, and slightly different expectations and things. So Cleo and I worked really hard on developing a program that would support her, but also the students who were going through this time of anxiety or feeling a little bit unsettled. And we started off with a little bit of team teaching, which allowed the students to see Cleo work hand in hand with me, but then that gradual release of responsibility where she was able to take over and knew the strengths and areas of improvement for each student. The next step of Cleo's journey was actually really exciting, but also a really interesting process because it came about from something that was quite new to the school, but also to the education system. So Cleo, I could tell from day one that she was very engaged, very supportive of students, and was able to easily connect and build a rapport that helped me realise her potential as a future teacher. We kept in close contact. We were emailing and talking to each other about future job prospects. But I think one of the strengths with Cleo was during her rounds, she actually really wanted to meet other teachers and see different areas of our school so that she had a wide base of resources. And I remember very clearly Cleo wanting to learn about the Switch program, wanting to meet the right people so that she could build those resources. And I think that's what led to her successful employment in the future, in that she spent a lot of time in other people's classrooms and getting to know other teachers who also recognised that strong potential. So Cleo spent a little bit of time in the Switch program. She was able to help students who struggled with engaging in curriculum or a normal curriculum. And then from that, she actually gained some part-time employment in the tutor program, which was, as I said before, new to the whole education system. It came about from the need the government's recognition that students had struggled with online learning and put in that support for students to have access to someone to help them fill those gaps that they might have accumulated. Cleo's really gone from strength to strength in her teaching practice. I always thought that she started out as a very strong and confident teacher. She sought feedback, she applied feedback, and she was always willing to go that extra mile. And to me, all I can see is her confidence has grown. I'm very proud of the way that she conducts herself within the school, but I also think it's fantastic that she's got all these resources. Like this year in our 2021 remote lockdown, we were able to communicate, we were able to plan together, even though we're not teaching together, but we were able to look at the curriculum and help each other support the students, which is exactly what you need. I really couldn't recommend the TAP program more highly. I wish back in my day when I had graduated, there was a program like this that was available to support student teachers, because I feel, although I had a lot of support from my own mentor teachers, this whole program really helps that step into the door, that step into finding employment and being supported in that process. One of the highlights of the TAP program and its success is that Crusoe now has 7 teachers who are employed either part-time or full-time in a teaching or tutor role, which is a really strong measure of the success of the program.
My name is Belinda Dennis, so I did my university placement here, so my final year, it was in 2018. I did my placement at Bendigo Senior. I went to La Trobe University doing a Bachelor of Education. When I was on placement here, it was for a 4-week block, which allowed me to see a variety of different classes here as well. I worked with the Year 11 and 12 psychology teacher, and I eventually came into a position here in 2019 for my first year of teaching as a Year 11 and 12 psychology teacher. I have then since become a mentor teacher for placement students and have taught some different areas as well. So I've taught a bit of VCAL literacy in the senior and intermediate areas as well. When we had the induction process, it was really valuable getting to see the different policies and procedures they use at Bendigo Senior. It was helpful having an instructional model, because when we're at university, we'll train to work off the instructional model. So having that in our induction pack was really handy. Getting to meet our mentor teachers and also other placement students, because it allowed us to come together at lunchtimes and that sort of thing to share our experiences when we were on our placement block here. Also getting to know that the school is quite a large school, a variety of different subject areas, so that was a really good opportunity for us to see different areas in the school and meet different people. Teaching, a lot of it comes down to who you know as well, so those connections you make can be really valuable. So I made the most of networking with different teachers across the school, because I was eventually going to work with them. I definitely treated my placement experience like a job interview as well. Since having placement students now, being a teacher at Bendigo Senior, I've come along to the induction sessions at lunchtimes, and now it's been really good to see that they give a bit more of a bit of a context about the school. So how many subjects there are, what the nature is. We have a really big responsibility. Our school is such a big part of the community, which I suppose I didn't recognise when I was on placement here, but now knowing that gives a lot more context to the environment we're in. Also that the enormity of how much the responsibility we have for our students as well, being those final years. Having a big lunch with other placement students has been good to see them all come together as well and be in the same environment. Yeah, it feels like much more of a better environment to be able to talk. I remember when I had my induction, it was sort of listen and just write your notes, whereas here it feels a lot more like you can share your experience as well. So that's been really good to see that develop recently. Those connections that I made when I was on my placement experience here was really valuable, because I eventually started teaching with the team. So it was helpful because I'd already worked with them in a collaborative way. So I knew the people in our team, and we were able to, I'd already seen how they work together. It's been at our school, it's such a big school, so bigger teams. So rather than just having 1 or 2 psychology teachers, there's 6 and there's 10 Year 12 classes. So it's really important to be really collaborative in the nature of your planning and everything. So it was helpful because I'd already seen that, whereas I hadn't seen that in other schools. It also allowed me to make those connections and that networking because I felt comfortable to go for a job here after finishing my placement rounds. There was a job advertised at the end of the year and I felt comfortable applying for it because I made those connections really well. I had references that I'd worked with here that were mentor teachers, and when I began teaching here, I'd already knew the people, so I felt like I could ask all those questions and felt really comfortable. I wasn't as intimidated as I probably would have been if I hadn't been here before. So yeah, those connections made me feel like I was in a really supportive environment, and it's allowed me to really thrive through the last couple of years as well. When you're on placement, definitely make the most of going to different subject areas. I definitely went to a few different psychology classes and saw different teachers teach psychology. However, I wish I went to more different subject classes. So go to humanities and go to all the history classes and the specialist maths, because you can take from all those different teachers as well, even if it's not your subject range. We're really lucky to have so many subjects at Bendigo Senior, so I wish I made more of an opportunity of that, because now we get a little bit too busy in our own subjects to go see other teachers as well, day to day. The other thing is it's really hard being on placement, so remembering that I think I looked at teachers as if they would never have bad days and every lesson would go to plan, and it was hard. You finish a lesson and it didn't go 100% to plan, but having those conversations with other teachers, realising everyone's going to have those days and it's okay, it's all about reflecting and moving on for the next day, because it can be easy to beat yourself up as a placement teacher. You're really eager to do your best work, but realising that everyone goes through that as well, and learning how to deal with workload early on, because it becomes quite an issue once you start teaching. So having that balance early on, even when you're in placement, so making sure you have off time after school and you get all your planning done beforehand, and you still go for your walks and you eat good food, because it's all those lifestyle habits that actually allow you to become a good teacher. You need to look after yourself, fill your own cup, so you can fill others as well. So really important lifestyle habits too. So as a final note, when I was on placement here, I definitely I treated it like a job interview. So I was looking for all those opportunities, and I made sure to make those really valuable connections across the school. I made sure I was rememberable, so when I did come for my placement or my interviews, they knew who I was and they had come and seen my classes. Luckily enough, when I was on placement, my mentor was away for a week, so I had other teachers in the college come to my classes and see me, and every time a new teacher came in, I made sure to introduce myself, let them know what I was about, let them know I was interested in a job here in the future, so that, yeah, I was really directed in that.